and friendship. Three goals were, this is the three goals of the Peace Corps. Help other people. Help them get a better understanding of the, help people, the things the country's needs of the train, help people, get them to know more about us, and help get us to know more about them. Something that the Peace Corps is a volunteer, you could call it volunteer tourism if you want to, or it's volunteering, at least maybe not tourism. But what's nice about it is that the volunteers go in, first of all, they only win the things that the country wants, that people want. They decide what kind of tourists come in, what they provide, and then they stay for a long time. They really get to know the local people. So it really is it solves a lot of the problems that we just identified. There's the three things: help other people, help them get a better understanding of the Americans, and help us get a better understanding of them. The different fields they work in: education, outreach, community development, health and HIV, agriculture, business development, and IT. Okay? Get it all? You got all these things already. You should know these. Here's travel backpacking. Hike overnight, use a natural area carrying a backpack. Backpack usually contains food, shelter, change of clothing, toiletries. Once backpacking is done, you're going to get all that stuff. Oh, by the way, there's something really interesting that you showed. And I was reminded of it, that I didn't know this until I did international travel. But I saw people carrying suitcases. And you carry suitcases, and before you go on a trip, you say, well, I'm going to make sure I'm going for 2 weeks, I'm going to take 2 weeks worth of clothes. And so you pack everything you need in that suitcase. Well, I need a bigger suitcase because I can't pack 2 weeks worth of clothes in there. And so you have enough, and you travel. Well, I met this one guy from over in Egypt. He was from the Smithsonian, a really good guy, and he had a tiny suitcase. Well, how in the hell could he survive that way? How did he survive? He was doing work in Egypt. How can you survive with a tiny suitcase? No. Did he sit in a sink and did he do that?
I've done it before.
You've done it? What else can you do? You don't have to do that. What can you do in the hotel in Cairo with your clothes? Somebody knows.
What is it? What was the question? I'm sorry.
You just have a suit. Your suit gets dirty in your hotel in Cairo. You have to take another suit out of your suitcase? Or what do you do with the suit you have?
Dry cleaning.
You don't realize every one of these hotels has a dry cleaner right there, or a cleaning place right there. You go downstairs, there it is. And I goes, sure it is. So you don't have to carry all that stuff with you. So this guy didn't. He just took the bare necessities, and then he washed them, like you said, and had them wash them, have the hotel wash them, and have the cleaner, the laundry right there in the hotel. And they have them. They have them. Anyway, excuse me, going off on a tangent. But it was mentioned today in the, somebody mentioned that today in your presentation, and I didn't know that, and so I'm glad I found that out. It's easy, and it made me, I didn't have to pack such a big suitcase anymore. Okay, some backpackers are in between, as I say, just talking about backpacking. Your backpack usually have to carry all that stuff. How are you gonna wash it if you're out in the middle of the Appalachian Trail? That's a little tough. Independent travel, backpacking, traveling a country by Europass, traveling alone, going on the cheap. These are hotels and B&B. That's independent travel. That's what we talked about. I just use that as an example. People know what I'm talking about. I saw one of those today too. I forget what country was that. Where you had a pass. You bought the pass, and there are 3 kinds of transportation it would work for. Where was that? Was that in Turkey?
Turkey.
I think it was in Turkey. Okay? That's independent travel, all right? Some examples of independent travel. Food, backpacks, and hostels. The younger people usually, and it's cheaper tourism. That's typical of hostling and backpacking. Who did hostling today? Yep. Cheap? Right? Okay, cheap and young, usually. Sustainable tourism, ecotourism. What is sustainable tourism? Well, we'll see these three terms a lot when you talk about sustainable tourism, ecotourism. Meet the needs of this generation without compromising enhancing the needs of future generations, enhancing the quality of life of local people. This is an extra. But you can see how that makes sense. People who went to Costa Rica made a big point of that today. Sustainable tourism. Yes, have a good time, but don't screw up the area you come to visit and take care of the locals. One definition of sustainable tourism. This guy had some, example of how to do it, and I had one I presented too. It's really, really simple. Define the goals and objectives. And what you really do in this step is you come up with different options, different ways to meet those goals and objectives. And you pick the best one. We'll have an argument about it, but to get the best one. And then after you implement it, monitor what you're doing. Wet your fingers, stick it up and see what's working well, what's working poorly. And you do more of what's working well and you do less of what's working poorly. So that's what, that thing works for a lot of things. It's not just sustainable tourism. You can use this argument for lots of things. You know, for choosing your courses at your university, for getting a job, going out on a date. You know, there's all kinds of things that you can use that for. And but like I use it for sustainable tourism. Okay. One of the things you got to remember about sustainable tourism, or anything at all that deals with the economic system, is that the business people are there to make a profit. And if they're, you know, it's not a bad thing, they have to make a profit, or they'll go out of business. They'll close up shop. So the thing has to be successful, and you have to make money immediately. In other words, the bank might loan you money, but the bank wants you to pay them off very, very soon. You can't say, well, maybe in a generation or two I'll be able to return money. No, you got to make money right away. So something to be aware of with tourism, sustainable tourism. Be aware that you have to make money in the short term to make it work. To hire employees, to pay their salaries, to pay the bank, to make sure your stock does well on Wall Street. You have to make money, and you have to know that. There's a lot of political pressure to produce short-term outcomes. Congressmen are elected for 2 years. They want something to happen now. You can't wait a long time. You're not going to get the political support you need. That, those sort of things may be incompatible with it. The real clever person finds a way to make it compatible with long range. Economic, political parameters of sustainable tourism, be aware of the economics of it, political pressure, and sometimes there's a conflict, there's a problem. What's ecotourism? Travel, appreciate nature, and you have to protect the area that you're going to visit. And what's the third one? Take care of the local people, right? Local people have to be involved in all phases. Now, you think about this, when I first saw it, oh yeah, that's just a nice thing that the UN pushes or that the government pushes. Yeah, you got to take care of the local people. But there's another really more important reason to take care of the local people. These people are the ones